Okay. There's a bunch of different ways you can attack this point, right? I'm going to go over... I don't want to call this the best, because you don't necessarily have to take this long doing it. Let's go the map control completionist way of taking over this map. Um, there are shortcuts, and I'll talk about those a little bit too. But so, your first rotation, your team comes out, come out this side of the truck, you come out here, you go inside this room, up these stairs, out to this window, right? You jump, you go up these stairs here, and you come here to this high ground. Now, once you're here, you don't necessarily have to drop immediately. You can hold this to let your DPS do some work. They're on the high ground. Even Ryan can just stand here and hold shield a little bit. You know, see if you get a pick, whatever. Anyone, you want to leave 1 or 2 people behind on this. People who can use it. DPS sort of thing. Like, 1 or both DPS up here, or maybe a DPS and a support, like an Ash Mercy sort of thing. You get the idea. Then, you come across. If you have mobility, you can jump this. If you have Lucio speed amp, anyone can jump it if you amp speed with Lucio. Or like there's a Maywall trick, whatever. Even if you drop, fine. You drop to this corner here. You still have people up there, right? And now is where I have to rotate the map a little bit. Whoop. There's a building there. Okay. So, let's go there. I think that works. As you recall, we have 1 or 2 people here. We now have somebody here. Maybe we got somebody up here. That would be great. If you got to go up the stairs to here, you can do that. Absolutely. Yeah. So, the enemy team, during all of this, so like, they're, waiting point, whatever. They can come push this, but if they come push this, then they're being shot here and here. So it's really hard to push this. You can stay here and push in behind this car and tree here onto the point, or you can come around behind and push low ground here. You can come high ground and drop, high ground and drop. You can keep wrapping around this, taking over these high grounds one at a time, and leaving somebody behind as you go. So suddenly you have somebody here, and now you have somebody here, and you have somebody here, and you have somebody here, and you have somebody pushing in here, and maybe somebody pushing in here, or like through hotel is even better. Like have an off tank or somebody or a DPS push through here. Well, now the point's surrounded. Now they can't touch this. It's a death trap. It is low ground surrounded by high grounds, and it has no cover. By taking over the map like this, you have just taken the point on paper. Like, it is so difficult for them at this point. Like, once you have gotten here, it's so difficult for them to keep this. You own this entire point now. Really important to understand that. So, if somebody's taking over the map, how do you counter that? Well, you out-rotate them. Ideally, you already have DPS or supports or off-tanks or whoever. You're already holding these high grounds. Back a statue is a really good place for a defender to hold. I like starting here on Diva. Is really strong. Shoot into their head as they try to push through here. Shoot them as they try to wrap around here and then fly back to your team or to a high ground. You got options. Yeah, so let's say they're all waiting low ground. If you take these high grounds, the only option they have is to back up to alley. That's the only safe place they can be once you take these high grounds. It's really difficult for them to get up there and get to you. They have to blow cooldowns, they have to like take long ass flanks. I don't know. I just can't stress this enough. You gotta. This game is about map control and it's about high grounds. Take these high grounds one at a time. If the enemy team is trying to do that to you, well, you can prevent that by holding them yourself. So if you got somebody here and somebody here and somebody here, and they do that rotation and all 6 of them come here, well, you can't stay there for sure, so you fuck off over here. But now, while they're here, they're getting shot from 2 angles still, right? So it's hard for them to just hold this. They then have to, like, push you off or push you guys off. Uh, and which means they either, like, if they leave people behind, then there's fewer people to push this, and then those people are isolated. It gets very complicated. Um, but this is kind of what you're fighting over. And if you skip this step of the fight, you just make things so difficult. You make things so fair for the other team. There's no reason to take a fair, even fight. You can lose fair, even fights. Take control of the map and win for free. Let's look at a different map. Any map requests? Any that y'all don't understand how to, like, attack or defend? I got a few. Volskaya is becoming a pet peeve of mine, so I'm going to talk about Volskaya, actually, and then if there are map requests from anyone, I would be happy to go over as many maps as you guys want.
Traveling to Volskaya Industries.
Hanamura first or Anubis second? I got you. Let's talk about Volskaya, and then I'll do those next. Okay. This point, like almost every point, objective, cart path in the game, is a low ground surrounded by high grounds. A low ground with no cover surrounded by high grounds. A death trap. Everyone wants to fight in this choke in the low ranks. You want to fight on point if you're defending this point. This point is so defensible and so hard to attack if you control the map and take the fight in the right place. So that's the other thing. I see a lot of players hold where they want to fight, and you don't need to do that. You can start here, do a little bit of damage, like if you have mobility, you start here, you do a little bit of damage, and then before they ever even get to you, then you go take this high ground. And then you go take this high ground. And, like, you kite back to take over your own map. So you can be doing damage this whole way, but you're not fighting here. And if they have speed advantage or a mobility advantage, then you can't be holding this close because they'll rush you. The big thing with Volskaya or with any map is know where you want to take the fight and make sure that that is where you end up when the fight breaks out. Poke phase versus engagement phase. So poke phase, you're poking here, you're poking here. Once you guys control these high grounds and they touch the point, well, then maybe you engage because you can just shoot them and kill them. That's your advantage, is them inting onto the point without taking these high grounds over. Ana, if I'm playing Ana, I like to play low ground here. It's like one of the few exceptions because you have this mega. You have sight lines down this part of the choke, and like a lot of tanks will start here, and then they'll back up to here or to here, and like play this corner or play this corner. So like you as Ana being here, you got sight lines the whole way, and then you can back up to mega, you can back up to stairs, and then you can take this high ground for the fight on point. Before like the enemy ever gets to you, you don't stay low ground. By the time the enemy is here, you're already rotating up. So, you're Ana, you end up here. And let me just... ending points, let's say. Your Ana ends up here, maybe your Rhein's right here, you got a DPS here, you got your BAP right here behind this box so he can't get shot in the back of the head. Maybe you got somebody here, you got your off tank holding low ground right here, so if they push this way or that way, like they're pushing into somebody who can kite back. Before I get too all over the place, that's a thing I forgot to mention. Off tanks off angle to main tank, so whenever you have a path that splits like this, either splitting on either side of the truck or splitting on either side of the hutch here, you want one tank holding one side and the other tank holding the other. They're still, all they have to do is back up like 2 inches, and they're with each other, and they're supporting each other. Depending, one might even be able to push in and pinch behind, or, you know, you guys just back up to wherever. You gotta back up together. But it's really hard to push into a tank. So, like, you can slow them down and buy more time for your DPS to do stuff. And make it harder for them to out-rotate you. Which means, to take this point properly against a team that knows how to hold it, you got a couple of options, but you can go through this path here, through here, up the stairs, boom. Now you have this high ground, and from here, you can rotate around through the high grounds and take here. You can pressure off whoever's here and take that, and you can slowly take over the map and sort of push them into here, or back here, or out here. And then once you've taken over the map and the point, it's really hard for them to push back in. I've heard this referred to as flipping the map. Because these points are so easily defensible, not always, but a lot of times, as the attacker, it can be easier to defend the point from the defenders than to attack it. So you're just flanking all the way around behind, taking over these good places from them, and pushing them off, and now you're defending the point from them. And it's really, really hard for them, and a lot easier for you. Second point. Whoop. Apparently I can't just fly through those. Boom. I want you to think of second point as having 3 lanes. Main, left if you're defending, right. Those are the ways they can come in and get to this point, yeah? So, map control wise, you want to be watching all of those. If you have, like, you can be doing your poke from here, high ground please, not the low ground there. Poke all you want, and then you can always like drop off or back up. Hold this if you can. Holding these spots is really, really strong. Holding here can be strong. Here's popular, but it's risky because, like, they can see you, you can see them. And it's also like, it's a straight angle. If your tanks are backing up here, like, you're on the same angle as your tanks. Versus, let me show you why I love these spots, why this is so strong. So let's say you're sitting here. You can use this corner to break this LOS, so you can peek it if you want or not. And you can also break those LOS. So you're very safe. You can peek as much as you want to do damage, and then hide again. Meanwhile, whoop. Let's go here, I guess. Come on. Okay, you're here. Enemy team's pushing in. You're shooting them, you're shooting them, you're shooting them. As they push past you, though, you are now shooting them in the back, while your team is still shooting them from wherever they happen to be. They are creating an angle on themselves by having to push past you. This is a super strong position to hold. You're so safe, and if they push past you without clearing you off, now you're just in this super power position behind them. So they have to clear you off first. So taking this point, I say ignore main. Main is a death trap, and I think you should take the flanks, both sides. So you can have people coming up here. You don't want to necessarily cross underneath, but if you have mobility, you can go from here to here and take this high ground. And you can come in behind, and you can take this high ground, and you can even come in behind and you can take this high ground. And if you take these high grounds from the enemy team, they're screwed, and you took this point. If you try to push through main while they have these high grounds, you might be able to break them with a shit ton of ults or something, but like, you're fighting an uphill battle that you don't need to be. A thing to note though for defending second point on 2CP, you have massive, massive respawn advantage. Trades are totally worth it. I really like the strat of hunting parties for the second point of 2CP. So you have, as an example, a core on point of, say, let's say like a Rhine, a BAP, and I don't know, some DPS. A Meh. Rhine, BAP, Meh. It's really hard. Even though there's only 3, it is really hard for a team to push into Rhine, BAP, Meh quickly, right? You have to take that slowly and wear them down. You can't just run into it, you'll die. Even though there's only 3 of them. So that means you could send, for example, Diva, Lucio, Kree, or Diva, Lucio, somebody with mobility, whoever your other DPS is. The 3 of them, they're super fast, right? Run around here, come in behind them as the enemy team is starting to push in, and just come in out of nowhere and into the backline. Kill 2 or 3 people. Doesn't matter that all 3 of you died doing that. You got 2 trades, you just won this fight. Yeah, it's 4v3, but those 4 can't push into these 3 very easily, and you'll be back in the fight in about 10 seconds. They'll be back in the fight in about 30. Go for trades when you're defending second point. Second point defending. Which means if you're attacking second point on 2CP, you have to win decisively and quickly. Now is about the only time it's okay to over-ult to cinch the fight. Just make sure they all die instantly. And it's, in fact, sometimes a good idea to have more than just your usual 2-ult combo and have 3 or 4 ready, so you can just take this point for sure. Okay. Hanamura first, and then we got 2 votes for Anubis. So let's do Hanamura and Anubis.
Traveling to Hanamura.
So, I want to be clear here that what I'm trying to do is give you all ideas. There isn't one set way to do this. There's a shit ton of heroes in this game, and they all modify how things are done. You know, you still got to use your brain. Don't just play this verbatim how I'm showing you and be like, why didn't it work for me? But this is how you need to be thinking about these maps and these fights. And so, the last one, like I gave you some examples using like rush heroes sort of thing. Let's talk about double barrier for this one, just as an example. Sigma, you're here. Sigma holds high grounds and off angles. He's really, really hard to push on. You can come through the little door here. There's a mega back there if you need it. You can drop off here into point and play point if you need to, but like holding here means you can hold this window, Sigma. They only have 2 entrances. These are the only 2 places they can get to this point. You can put a shield here, you can spam it, you can rock it. You by yourself can hold this window very easily. Oh, thanks, Raiden. Ideally, like if you have, say, your Ana or your BAP, they can see you too. So like if Ana's playing low ground back here where Ana's like to play, they can see you. If BAP's like playing here sort of thing, he can see you, although it's a little bit hard. BAP could also just be on top of you, healing you, and then healing your Orisa. So let's... Actually, I think I like that better. So let's say Sig, BAP, Orisa holding this corner. Not up in the choke, the corner. You can drop a shield here. When the shield breaks, you can back up around the corner. BAP can still see you and heal you, can throw lamp if they try to rush you. It's really important that you hold this corner and not up here. because enemy team rushes you around this corner, Sigma's shooting them in the back. BAP's shooting them in the back. You're shooting them in the front. You still have, probably your other support with you. You might have a DPS up on this balcony here, or up here, or with you even if it's like a Mei. So it becomes really hard to push. To push the Sig BAP, they have to use a lot of mobility cooldowns, or they have to run all the way up here. So like that's not happening. And pushing Orisa is really, really hard. This is why double barrier is so strong when it's played right. You need to be splitting and holding these angles and know where you want to fight. This is open space. Anything that goes through here and gets surrounded here is going to die. So if Sig is here and BAP is here, they're unpushable. Orisa's here on the corner. She's unpushable. And to push on them, they have to enter open space and die. The other important thing to know about double barrier is you're not a brawl comp, you're a spam comp. You kite. If they manage to walk on top of you, they could kill you. If they get to you. Like, that's the big challenge. If all 6 of them, if they're running rush and they just rush on the 3 of you here, yeah, probably a bunch of them will die, but they'll kill 2 or all 3 of you, and then they have respawn advantage, and then they go and they win the next fight. So, like, the other bit of this, Orisa, is when they start pushing you, you have to kite back. And you can kite all the way back outside of the point back here even. Kiting through open space is a bad plan. You actually want to leave and go out here. Your team can then push in behind them if they chase you. If they then abandon you and start going to point, well, then you just push right back in behind them. So, like, kite. Keep shooting and backing up, shooting and backing up. Never let them get on top of you. That's very, very important. If they decide to go dive and send a whole bunch of people after Sig BAP, well, y'all kite back and you just blew all their mobility cooldowns and shut down their dive. Maintain distance and spam and wear them out. How often do you yell at people for ebb and flow? Not often, as much as I yell at them for playing high grounds or for not playing high grounds and corners. Play high grounds and corners. Ebb and flow is really important. High grounds and corners more so. So while we're here, let's talk about Hanama's second point. Whoop. You're defending with BAP Sig, or not BAP, Orisa Sig sort of thing. Orisa, Sig. Sig can spam out these windows, spam them as they push out here, and then they have a choice. They can rush the Sig, in which case Orisa just has to walk to this corner, not even drop, and you're shooting them in the back. And don't drop Orisa, you want to stay there, shoot them in the back. If they push on the Orisa, Sig can walk right up here and be shooting them in the back, shield and all that. Orisa can back off, Orisa can drop, Orisa has options. So Orisa just kites back if they push the Orisa. Also, Orisa isn't here alone. You know, you have your supports. You can stick somebody up here if they have the cooldowns for it, or you can just have, like, Sig BAP Ashe here, and, you know, Orisa Brig Mei here, and who the hell is going to push through either of those, you know? Especially with the other half able to just pinch in behind whoever they push. Cool. Basics of double barrier. Oh, wait. What was the other one? The other one was Anubis. Oh, pff. Walked right past it.
Now entering the Temple of Anubis.
Okay. Again, map and high ground control. Most people know to hold here, right? But a lot of teams just stay there. If the enemy team pushes past you through low ground, then by all means stay on this high ground and control it. They're giving you free angles. But If they come around and they push you off, I mean, let them. You can fight them through this choke, and if you get enough advantage to engage, then engage and kill them in the small room. If you don't, then you back up to the bridge, and you play on the bridge, and then the stairs, or you back up in here and go to the high ground. Or, room. You back up off the point into this small room, come around, and you play the mini side and these back stairs. Up here, up here. There's all kinds of options for map control. You just need to make sure that, like, you're backing up to get it. Oh, I guess that's the other thing. There isn't just one place to take a fight. You should have, like, a map in your head of... So, they're going to come through here, right? We're going to spam the hell out of it in here. This is option 1 for us to engage. If we get enough of an advantage to engage, we can engage in here. This is the first spot that we might take a fight, and your team should all be ready to take a fight in this little room. Maybe you got somebody sitting up here, you got people over here, maybe somebody's hopping around there or coming through here, you know, whatever. If you don't get enough of an advantage and they push you back, well then this open space here is the next place you can take a fight. So you want to surround that. Back up here, grab this, grab these high grounds behind me. Still don't have enough advantage? Fine. You keep kiting back. And the last place to take the fight is the point itself. Another low ground surrounded by high grounds. So if you guys can back up to these positions, the stairs back there, even the mini here. This corner can be okay, but I don't like it because I always end up trapped here and I can never get back out again. So, like, if you end up here, you live there forever until your team wins the fight. It's really hard to cross once you're there. But anyway, if you back up to these high grounds, well now, first off, you pressured the hell out of them the first place you wanted to take a fight. You didn't get the advantage. So then you pressured the hell out of them the second place you wanted to take an fight. Didn't get the advantage. Now you're pressuring the hell out of them here. Like, they have been fighting this whole way. This has taken time. It's taken resources. You're giving yourself just opportunity after opportunity to crush them. And now they are in the worst possible position out of all three of them. You are in the best positions out of all three of them, and it's late in the fight. They're boned. So try to have a plan. Multiple places to attack. And think about attacking in open spaces that you can surround by with high grounds and cover. Which means, if you want to attack this point, we'll fly through. Come up through here. Push this. Leave somebody here, probably. Or if they have the mobility, they can come up this way and take this, and that's even better. But, like, now that you have this high ground, control it. They can play this pillar for safety if they need to. You come up here. Now you're playing these stairs and you push them back. This is your second chance for a fight on the attacking team. Maybe this gives you enough to go in and win the fight. If it doesn't, well, now you're going for proper map control. Take the time for proper map control. It's worth it. You come up here. Now you have this. You leave somebody here. You probably still have somebody here. If it's not safe to leave somebody behind while they're taking this wrong rotation, then you go with the team. And then it's all 6 of you up here, and that's fine too. You leave people here. You leave people here. If they got mobility, you send somebody up here. And then one or both tanks drop, and just the tanks. And maybe you drop right here, where it's really hard to fight into you. And you can, like, fight in here. Boom. And you have taken over this map yourself and pushed them off of the high grounds onto the low ground, where they have to contest you or they'll lose the point anyway. So that's how you attack this. If you watch good teams, like watch contenders matches, watch some owl matches, you will see that the majority of the time spent in their fights is fighting over the good positioning, because whoever ends up with it in the end is almost for sure going to win the fight. They're doing all of this fighting is overtaking these good high grounds around there. And so that's where you should be putting like most of your energy. And if you're in a low rank and teams aren't doing this, it is literally free SR. That Ashe I VOD reviewed last time, if you're just sitting up here, or even better, like up here for free, doing damage the whole game, so strong. The Widow on attack is pretty obvious to me, but where's the best defensive Widow position? Like left or right tower, backside, a mix? Oh, okay. That's a good question. So, like, you can start here. That gives you kind of like this low ground angle, as well as up here. So the good thing about starting here is the first time the Widow grapples up, you dome her. You're just already ready. If you play here, you can avoid the Widow and still do other work, but that's not really your job in the Widow v Widow. You want to be contesting the other Widow. And if she's that much better than you at Widow, then you need to be going onto, like, Tracer or some other DPS that can, like, go take that 1v1. But it does give you cover to, like, peek this, and they're not always expecting it. That kind of gives you an angle, and you got, like, this corner and tree to peek out of. You got some options. I think the most important thing is in the Widow v Widow, don't peek the same angle twice. So, like, if you start out here and you dome the Widow, grapple over here. And then count to 10, she comes back from spawn, peek, dome her again. Because now she was looking for you over here. And then, now that you're here, you could cross back, you could go to a third option, you could stay right there and try to, like, big brain her. Like, you don't want to fall into a pattern that can be predicted either. So, like, a mix. Definitely a mix. Yeah. Okay. Anubis' second point. Whoop. This is another one that can be thought of as having 3 lanes, right? Whoop. Kind of 4, actually. Main, left flank. Why did that just suddenly get bigger? Right flank underneath. Through here. What is going on with my pin size, guys? Okay. So again, lane control. Lane control, map control. If I'm playing Ana, I like to hug this wall right here. Especially if there's a Widow, because you can't get domed. You're just free here to heal anyone on your team on the point. If they don't have a Widow, or you feel like going more aggro, you can climb up onto these, onto this, and make this jump. A lot of people know this one. I love this spot, because you can see anyone coming left flank. And also, you know, go around this pillar to block any LOS that you need to block. And from right here, you have a nice little nade angle, and you have another one. If I am feeling cheeky and feel like I can get away with it based on, like, the heroes the enemy team is playing, I will hide right here. If I know the enemy team's going to push through main, because sometimes they will. I'll hide right here. As soon as they walk past me, I drop the nade. If they turn around to deal with me, they're all antied, and my team is literally right here running in. And you're defending 2 CP. Even if you die, if it converts into enough kills, it's worth. Ballsy play. Not necessarily saying it's always the right one, but... Yeah, there aren't as many high grounds here. That's true, but there are still a few. You can leave somebody up here to shoot them in the back as they walk in. That's popular. Standing up here is really good, because you can peek this or that, and still come back over this way. You got a few options, and they give you good sight lines. Just think about, at this point, it's less about controlling all the high grounds to control the map. They help with that, and you should still control them, but it's more about controlling the lanes. So if you have an off tank waiting this corner, well, now you're controlling that lane. Your other tank is waiting here, well, now you can control main and here. Your Ana's right here, well, they can heal your main tank, and they can peek right here and heal your off tank very easily because they're standing right here. So like they have support. You're not all alone. Maybe you have a DPS here. Maybe you have a DPS that's just constantly flanking on their backline. That's really good. That is a third angle. They start to walk in, start being a dick to them. Yeah. Cool. Any other maps that people are curious about? Ugh, I hate it. Hate which part? Numbani? Oh. Oh, I love Numbani. Numbani's fun. Numbani's a dive map. Okay.
Traveling to Numbani.
Okay. So, again, low ground surrounded by high grounds. This first point is absolutely map control. Whoever controls these high grounds wins, on paper. If you're defending, by all means, start here or here to get some early damage, but then you're backing up. And so since I've talked about like some brawl strats and some double barrier strats, which you can absolutely run double barrier here. Brawl you can run, but it's a little bit harder. I'm going to talk about dive instead, just to give you yet more ideas. So, if I were running Monkey Diva, I would probably set Monkey here, Diva here. What supports and DPS do we want with this? I play Junk on first and I either get Bullhold or get Rolled All game. Junk is really strong on first, but he gets really hard to play the rest of it. So, like, if you want to play Junk on first tier defense, cool, but then I would swap after, honestly. Okay. Let's say Monkey, Diva, Genji, Tracer, on a Brig? On a Lucio? Let's go on a Brig. Okay, so those are heroes. Monkey, I would put Ana here. I know a lot of Anas like to set up kind of like back here in this doorway. Don't. Set up here. Tracer, you're waiting backline somewhere over there. You're just hiding. Who do we have? Brig and Genji. I'd probably put... I mean, Genji would probably start here to get like some early poke. And Brig, you're going to hang out with Ana. So here's our initial setup. If they come up high ground, like they normally do, and they push Monkey, Monkey can taser them a ton in the small room. He can drop bubble. Ana from here can throw nade, can pocket him. Brig can walk up to here and doink a whip shot and get Inspire going, and then come back, and can throw out packs as needed. Diva can fly over if needed and DM. Genji can jump over and do damage or just poke from here. And Monkey can leap away back to the team. So, yes, Monkey's all alone, but he has all the support in the world. Meanwhile, Tracer is following them and is just harassing their backline this whole time. Brig can pack the Tracer to keep her up or let her stay at a little bit longer. If they come for your Ana, you have Brig to shut down the dive, you have Diva to help shut down the dive. So, like, Brig, you're camping Ana the whole time. Diva, you're going between everyone, whoever needs help. But you want to keep an eye on them too in case, like, Brig isn't enough. Tracer and Genji, you are looking to create angles on the enemy team relative to your tank line. Support line, you are keeping, or Ana, you are hard pocketing your tanks, building nano as fast as you can for your Genji. Brig, you are hard pocketing your DPS and your Ana first, then your DPS, and doinking Inspire whenever you can for your tanks and for everyone, really. So, as the enemy team pushes in, if they just push straight onto point, well then, like, Tracer can come around here and be poking them. Genji's up here poking them. Ana's perfectly safe here to throw a nade onto them, and then they're screwed. Brig can still doink the whip shot. Brig is not dropping. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're protecting your Ana. So they can't just go straight to point. They'll die. Monkey can drop down. Diva can drop down. Everyone else stays high ground. Well, I mean, I guess the DPS can go in and dive and kill things. It's just very hard. So they have to dive this high ground, realistically, or take over the high ground. So they could, like, come here, push Monkey off, and take this. Great. They have this. They're still getting shot at, they're still getting harassed, and your team's all alive looking at them over there. And they still got to touch the point. So from here, this isn't enough map control to touch the point. Still looking at all this, they die. So, whether they take this or not, they have to take this high ground from you. Which means they have to dive an Ana, a Brig, a Diva, potentially a Monkey, potentially a Genji, to try to push you off. And Ana, you can just drop and play in here. Full side of the point, play around this little pillar thing in the middle so they can't really get you. You can even, like, be running around in circles around it if you gotta. Brig, you drop with her, because Brig, you are bodyguarding your Ana at all times. Just too hard to deal with. If they use cooldowns to try to get to you, Brig, it is your job to whip shot them away. You get Inspire going, and they don't land the dive. Super annoying, fun thing to do to monkeys. So that's how you hold this, and also how you would have to take it, is by taking over the high grounds. Once the cart starts moving, you got a couple of places people like to fight. This first corner is really good to hold. You get somebody holding right here, somebody behind this truck over here, maybe somebody on this statue or on top of the bus or this thing, and you got your angles. Cart pushes through. Fight sometimes happens on this corner. Well, now, this high ground, if you were holding it the entire time the cart was moving, well, now you're shooting them in the back again. Or you can very quickly just walk right here, and now you have this high ground. If you got people playing low ground like your Tracer, they can be playing in here, back here, you know, getting behind people. You got these high grounds here with cover that people can be playing around. And the whole time the cart is moving, it's surrounded by these high grounds getting shot at. Cart is a death trap this whole route. And then again here. Everyone knows this high ground. It's super strong. You can have people flanking around here, like your Tracer. This can be a pretty good high ground. On Ana, I really like playing up here. You got nice sight lines, and you can just drop down to the mini if you start getting shot at. Or, like, jump to right here if you need more cover. Or drop here. Got all kinds of options. This admittedly has less high grounds, but it still has a few, and it still has corners. You can play this corner, but then somebody can sneak up on you there. But if you're playing here, well, now they can only sneak up on you here. They have to... Or if you play here. And then if somebody does come up behind you, turn around. Playing in here. I've just given examples and ideas. It's all going to be circumstantial based on where the enemy is and what they're running. But, like, this is the idea. You want to think kiting from corner to corner to corner, only taking the fights that you want when the enemy puts themselves into unfavorable positioning, which you can do by holding these high grounds and forcing them to walk underneath you.